youth loves basketball. It is the second largest sport in the world, and even in Africa, the second fastest growing is basketball. It's the fastest growing sport. It's not football. Football is already standard. Football is where it is. It's like Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
It's a cyclical project. It doesn't product. It doesn't need any effort for it to keep growing.
Yeah.
It is there. Okay. Basketball, the youth loves basketball.
So before I continue with the Giants of Africa, what are some of the challenges you faced being a scout or having a desire to recruit from Kenya in regards to now taking someone to the next level or East Africa or whichever countries you'd like to speak about?
It's people are skeptics, so I don't know what it is. I don't know what has happened to the people culturally, but they're skeptics. So, for example, like you said, I'm Cameroonian, so when I speak to somebody, some people start saying, oh, he's a scout, he has his money, he's cheating you on this system. No, I'm not. I don't get any money from anybody. I get paid to be a scout, exactly. I'm an African scout. I get paid. You have to understand one thing. I just picked to stay in Kenya because I have a family here, right? My job doesn't have a location. I can even live in Germany. My job is I'm just a scout. I'm supposed to be in airplanes. That's all I'm doing. I don't have a physical job. I don't have one. My job is virtual. I just go to tournaments. Like I go Basketball Without Borders, I go there. When you just give me youth tournaments, I just fly there. So people have a wrong notion when people try to help them. I've had the case, especially here locally, where eventually, if there's another Kenyan who is trying to do the same thing, they'll throw the Kenyan card to the player and say, Mimi unajua. And I'm like, it's okay, as long as you help the kids, it's fine, but I don't think that's the way to operate.
Yes.
It's not the way to operate. At the end of the day, you can't help all the kids. Even if we allowed you, you can't help all the kids. Nobody can. Giants of Africa can't. ABDA can't. Toronto Raptors can't. Nobody can. But collectively, we can. We can help as many as possible if we just have a right way of understanding each other. So the challenge I've had is that whether it's in Burundi, Rwanda, Uganda, is that people become skeptical. It's as if you have to have the same passport as them for them to want to listen to you. It's a wrong thing to do because you miss out on opportunities. Because we don't do the same thing, and I'm sorry to say it, when a Mzungu comes in and he talks. Now we don't say that he's not Kenyan or he's not South Sudanese or he's not Cameroonian. Now we want to listen to it. We have to stop it. Trust your own people too. Africans are all the same. All these passports, you tell me nationalities, I consider myself Kenyan. I lived here for 20 years. So whatever you can tell me is Cameroonian, I laugh and I say, why do you call me Cameroonian? I have this joke I like giving my friends. But I thought you celebrate Barack Obama. You say he's Kenyan. But he didn't grow up in Kenya. You're now celebrating the Prime Minister of the UK. Did he grow up in Kenya?
No.
But you say he's Kenyan. So why do you say he's Kenyan? But he's a British Prime Minister because the British say he's British because he's been in Britain for all those years. Same as the Americans say Barack is American because he's lived there. I've lived there all this time. I just think people should stop saying I'm a foreigner. I'm not a foreigner. Okay? You know I speak Swahili. I know I've been to many places in Kenya that even Kenyans haven't been to. Villages. I did the Sprite tour. I did 42 high schools in 3 weeks. Schools that some people here don't know. So no. The scouting problem that we have usually is that. So when you come, you have to fight with the local coaches who sometimes don't want to release players, especially. Because they want something. Because every coach thinks that when you scout, you're getting something. I promise you there are some scouts who do that. There are some guys who negotiate with schools and get paid. But not everybody does that. And it's bad to mix everybody in. And that's what happens. Because the local coach looks and says, I've been training this kid and you just want to take him. No. You build your relationship with your kid. Teddy went to the US, but Teddy always talks to Coach Sly. And when he came to Kenya to visit, he was with his coach in Mathare. Yes, his coach built a relationship with him. So if Teddy becomes a billionaire tomorrow, he'll take care of his coach. It's simple. I helped Teddy go, but Teddy doesn't talk to me more than he talks to Sly. He talks to Sly. And that's what every coach should understand. Build your relationship with your player such that wherever they go across the planet, they always say, my coach is there. He needs a couple of basketballs. He needs this. Coach Wangu. So that's all that you get.
So GOA over the past few years maybe didn't have camps in Kenya. Why so?
That's what I'm saying. Where will the knowledge of Kenya, and like I said, GOA was a Nigerian thing. It's it's like any of the programs you have locally. Slam Dunks is in Kenya, Vikapu is in Kenya.
Yep.
It's the Kenyan program.
Yep.
With time and resources, they can decide, let's start going to other countries.
Yep.
So they came to East Africa maybe because one of the founder, the mother is also Kenyan. So maybe that's what prompted it to be one of the first countries. I don't know. He alone can answer the question. But I would want to make that guess and say he had a personal reason why he could come to Kenya, but that's why Kenya and Rwanda, where he has a good relationship with presidents. So I think those prompted, it was easy access before now expanding to other countries. Because most of the other countries is countries request, right? I request, please come to this country. Then they'll tell you the conditions for GOA to come and host the camp. And then if you can fulfill, then GOA shows up. So it's basically that has been happening over the years for the expansion. We've been to 16 countries.
So far?
Yes.
Yeah. And so far, so good?
Absolutely. It's great. 16 countries is a lot of countries to be in. So it's been an amazing journey. It's seeing the transformation. Like when you see kids, Precious Achua, who plays for the Raptors, was in the Giants of Africa camp in Nigeria. So it's amazing to see such things happening. You know, kids growing out of it. The way Basketball Without Borders is happy to see Christian Koloko, Pascal Siakam, Joel Embiid, Luc Bamute, who all went through those programs. It's beautiful. And that's what we also enjoy.
There's this lady, you guys, I think she was from Kenya, but she went for the Tanzanian camp. And I don't know if she's in UK right now. She was really vocal in terms of leadership.
Yes.
And her life has changed just because of the camp,
Exactly. So and that's what I'm saying. It's not about the best players. She showed her personality, and it was a simple question: what do you want to be in the future? That's all that was asked by the kids, and she came up, and she gave a brilliant expose of what her career plan is, which impressed my boss, and he was like, "I like this girl. She's assertive. She's great. She became a GOA ambassador, like you said. Now she's in the UK."
So you've been blessed to be able to travel in different African countries, basketball-wise and all these other things. How would you rate Kenyan basketball? 1 to 10. 1 being poor, 10 being
in regards
the
to
best.
what? In regards to what? The talent, or in regards to how the game is played itself?
In regards to both.
Talent-wise, I'll tell you this: the talent pool across is basically the same. There's no huge difference, because if you want athletes who are strong and built, you can go to Kisii, Nyanza, or Western Province, and you'll find a bunch of them, right? They will look like any West African. If you just put the structures and you make it happen that way, okay? So it's there. I think it's across. It's basically it. I think what is skewed about the game, and this is going to address to another question maybe that you have ahead, is that it's the passion that stunts the growth. Because the Kenyan athlete is only primarily motivated by money. Not by wanting to win, not by wanting to be better. It's by money. And I always laugh at them because I say, you see these West Africans you talk about? Those leagues are very broke. But the players play out of passion to become very good. Because the players don't play to play in those leagues. All West African players aspire in leaving the country. When I was training and playing basketball, was to leave Cameroon, not to stay.
Not to stay.
I didn't care about winning the local league. I don't care about that. But here we care too much about winning the local league, that we don't care about how we can grow and beat an Angolan team or a Tanzanian team or an Egyptian team. No. As long as I can beat my direct rival here in Nairobi, here in Kisumu, I'm happy. And I think, to me, that's what makes the disparity in how we play basketball in Kenya and the other places. We are not trying to compete beyond our borders. We are just happy here. Now, the couple of guys who have engaged in it, Okal, Bush, now Ken Washira has joined them, the Tylers, they're doing well, and that's why the Morans could play, because you have a couple of those guys who have decided to pull themselves out. You know, Fade is gone, Siaji is now gone. That's good. More need to leave. Griffin had no business playing his whole career in Kenya. He would have been another player if he played somewhere else. You understand? So that was unfortunate. You get it? There's so many of those guys, the Bosides, they should have been elsewhere. Get exposure, grow. So I'm happy that this coming generation has embraced it. Because that's really what makes the difference.
Yeah.
Those leagues grew better because they had more foreign imports. So for the Kenyan game, as you asked me, 1 to 10, I'll say right now where we are playing at 5, 6. Out of the potential that we can have. And what can bring it up? Bring players from outside of Kenya to play. You will not grow within yourselves. Even as human beings, we grow as a race, as anything, by having intermarriages, by literally crossbreeding in quotes. That is what makes us more powerful.
Hybrids.
Yes, because we get the best of each.
Yeah.
You will not grow by staying just the way you are. So you say the Kenyan league should be for Kenyans that will grow. You cannot grow within. Where's the competition? If there's no competition, there's none. But if I brought for you a couple of Congolese, Nigerians, Cameroonians, Americans to play in the league who are way better than our players, guess what? Our players are going to have to adjust and get better. And they will elevate. If I had coaches who would come and coach here and challenge our coaches and win games and play differently, it would challenge our coaches to study and get better. Yeah. So a lot of the things that are not happening is caused by the ecosystem. So usually that's why I cry and people start telling me, oh, reduce the number of players. No. Don't copy things blindly. Right now where Kenya is, Kenya needs as many foreign players as it needs. The reason why football grows more than basketball, like in Europe, for example, European basketball doesn't make as much money as European football. Do you know why? Because European basketball has those rules in clubs. 3 foreigners, 4 whatnot. But that's different because those guys don't live there. They come in, but it limits them. You see, football, Arsenal had a whole team. How many English players were playing there? The Invincibles, how many English players were there? Do you remember, right?
Yeah.
There were very few.
Yeah.
At that time, it was Manchester United had like basically the structure of the national team. But it doesn't matter. Man City, how many players do they have from? Who cares? They help bring revenue to England. When all these teams started playing, UCU in Uganda was a bunch of foreign players. Kenyans flooded Uganda. It's what made the league get better because Ugandans were playing against tough players.
Yeah.
It's what made the Komakechis and the Inabus of this world. Even when you give the story of Kenyan basketball back in the days, the Ilungas and all these guys that played here, it's because they played here with these cops and all these guys. You had a Somali head coach in COP who was won the league, I think, 6 times in a row. Yeah, because he brought his methods. That's what helped the game grow. The game went back down when we thought that you just have to bring only the locals to play. Nothing is going to help them grow. Kenya was, when they say Kenya used to be great, Kenya had foreign players. They had foreign players. COP had foreign players. Posta, they had foreign players and foreign coaches. That's what helped them. Coach Tony Molden was in Kenya. You want to tell me Tony Molden is an American? No, he's Kenyan. Tony Molden has done so much for Kenya. Remember Tony Molden?
Yeah.
From KCT?
Yep.
You can't say he's an American. No, he's Kenyan. He has helped so many Kenyan kids. He helped bring structure. When he was here with KCT, he had guys from Uganda, the Norman Blix and all those guys. Omoni, they all were here. They played here.
Yep.
And that's how to help the other guys in KCT who joined get better. The David Mugoyes and all those guys who played alongside these guys. So it only helps you when you have a mixture of talents. That's what helps your own players grow. So if we want to grow, let's open the doors and tell guys to flood in. Because once they do, we have to compete. And once we compete, we become better. Because now we're used to that talent that they're proposing outside. Now we go play Congo or Nigeria, we're used to them. We're like, we already had a top Nigerian player in this league, so we know how these guys play. There's nothing they're going to show us. But right now, we don't know how Egyptians play. If we have 3 Egyptians in this league, I promise you, they'll share with us their knowledge. We'll learn from them and get better. And when we play Egypt, we'll kick their butts all the time.
Yeah. So speaking of basketball within the nation,
yes,
you've traveled to different nations and they have different programs, as I know you've already spoken about them. Which are some of these highlights of some of the programs that have really impressed you within Africa?
Like I said earlier, Tunisian, Egyptian, Angolan programs. Yeah. Because from the youth, they instill the same culture. And all the coaches have bought into it, so all the coaches run the same structure. And I've had the chance to speak to players from these countries, national team players. They say it's easy for them on national team because it's a plug and play. We run the same sets. They might be called different. What you call red is what we call X. But it's the same sets. So it's easy for us to now gel in and play. That is why their national teams operate at that high level. okay? So these are some of the basic structures that they've put to build the game. They understand we have to build it from down up. One thing that worked well I would say in Cameroon was the league imposed on every Premier League team to have a youth team at some point. It was an obligation. To play in the Premier League, you must have an under-18 team. You have to have one. Because these players that you want, where do you want them to come from? Develop players. And that helped a lot. Because then those teams can play amongst themselves too. Like when you watch the Champions League, see, there's a youth Champions League.
Yes.
So you see all the fixtures all the time.
Yes, yes.
When Man U is playing against this team, their youth also have a game. They travel and have the same game. It's what helps you grow. If we all have the same responsibility to grow the next generation, then it is easy. Because then it's structured, right? If I have a team, it means I'm going to groom them the way I'm training the senior team.
Yeah.
So it'd be smooth when they come in. Right now, we don't have anything, right?
Yeah.
So what we call development is high schools. High schools is not a development program, it's a high school. It's not a program. So a couple of guys have their own programs and they do their own things. We need to try and streamline it. As coaches, we must stop looking at each other like enemies. We must come together on one table and discuss what we think is wrong and then see how to make it better. And always have forums. One important thing I want to mention to you, and I've cried about it since, and I'll try and do it myself. We need forums.
Yeah.
We need to have every year, at least twice a year when we meet, all the coaches. The senior coaches come in, Coach Ronnie, all these guys, do a lecture on some stuff. Then based on strength, we know strengths. Coach Ojukwu is great on defense. Coach T9 has great skills on offense and offensive movement and stuff like that, etc., etc. We have guys. Maish is good with people. Like Coach Mayenga knows how to recruit and scout and bring the team together. Coach Obi, the same. Like, bring all these guys, right? We saw the work Coach Shem did with some of his young players when we saw when Riara was playing.
Yeah.
Bring all these guys. Let's discuss things about basketball. Pick a couple of guys to present on certain things every now and then. This time it's me presenting about X thing about basketball that we've identified. It's okay, Abel, you do well in skills. So talk about skills development, how you approach it, how you help your players grow in their skills, what are some of the key fundamentals and key drills that you use. Coaches take notes. We go back home with that. This coach has talked about defense and some of the things, how he builds his team defensive progression and all the rest. This one talks about offensive progression and how he builds it. We need to have that. It happens everywhere in the world. In the US, it happens. Popovich always said he took most of his things from high school coaches. He would go to those forums and listen. We need to have that humility and have forums. Where we come and we listen to each other. We identify people to present at key moments. And that's it. Next time you can be the one presenting. By the end of 2-3 year cycle, maybe each one of us has presented something.
Yeah.
And we've learned from each other.
Yeah.
An old man told me, Coach OBJ, that a coach has a bag. In that bag, what he does is always takes from another coach and drops more knowledge and keeps moving. That's why coaches always have a backpack. Is to put more knowledge because you never have enough knowledge.
Yeah.
So we need to sit in a forum and be able to talk as coaches and grow.
Yeah. That's very true. That's deep stuff right there. Because in Kenya, you see, most guys are like, the card is close to the chest. I don't want somebody to see.
You cannot receive with a closed hand.
True.
So if you want to keep your cards this way, well, you're just limited to those 2 cards that you had. You don't know what I could have added to your thoughts.
Yeah. Yep. The national team, you participated in the AfroBasket after 28 years of drought. How much do you think we've grown in the national team?
It's amazing growth. First of all, it's, I mean, I only got an official title last year for AfroBasket, but I've worked with the national team for the longest time. Since, I think, 2016 or so, or 2017, I was already basically coming for practices, working with the guys. So I've seen a lot of the progress happening. When Coach Cliff came, he did a great job when he did all the mini recruitments. And remember, he changed the team so many times, giving chances to different players, trying out different things. It's been a tremendous growth. And like I told you, the biggest part was all these players who went outside to play in these different countries. So they came back with a lot of confidence, which is what really helped the team be able to play at that level. And because the guys had been together, most of them since about 2017, 2016, 2017, when we went to South Africa, something like that. So, and they were just adding guys. It was a family. And the strength of Tunisia, Angola, Morocco, Egypt, is that those guys like one family. They've played together in the same club teams and play on the national team. So the national team becomes a club because they're used to playing with each other.
Yeah.
So it's easy to succeed. You have to create that, and that's what Morans did very well. Morans is a family, so it was very easy for the guys to operate. When push comes to shove, they know how to talk to each other, how to trigger each other's right buttons. Nobody takes anything personally. You can elbow me as you want in practice. I know why you're elbowing me, because I'm going to get elbowed soon out there. So I get that this is from a point of love that you're doing it. So the guys really grew, and they really, I mean, they did so well. We could have done better. Like, we were so unfortunate in AfroBasket not to be full house. Because, I mean, we're in AfroBasket without Joel Awich and without Preston Bungay. That's a big blow. And we still lost to South Sudan by one basket, one controversial call by a referee. In fact, he had 3 controversial calls at the end of the game to kill our game. We were supposed to go across. We were supposed to be in the quarterfinals. Yeah. In the quarterfinals. That's where we're going. You get it? So it wasn't. If Kenya was at full house at that time with that squad, I believe we could have made that tournament. We're going to be top 4. I mean, our first game against Cote d'Ivoire, that was the eventual finalist. I mean, we did well if you watch the game until like the last 3 minutes of the game where we crumbled. Yeah. And like I'm saying again, imagine having Awich and Preston, because they were there when we qualified and beat Angola. Yeah. They were all present with Tyler, so that's a different squad. You get it? If you have that full squad, it's not the same thing that you're talking about, right? It's a different result because you have those best. Hey, I respect all those that we went with. I believe that they were deserving, but you just call a spade a spade. Those other guys are one notch higher. They're professional players. They'll be able to compete with those guys. So I think that Kenya at full force still can with the right training camp. I mean, we had like a 4 weeks training camp almost. That was pretty good. We wanted a longer one because you need it. People don't get it. You need it because you need to gel completely. You need to become one. So that takes time. Everybody has to kill their own old habits and learn new habits. And be close to each other. It takes a lot. There's scouting going on. So I think Morans went, to me, shout out. I only came at the end of that journey, but I watched from outside. And the team, the management across, Maxine, she killed herself to the task. I think she had the most sleepless nights on this planet for the longest time. She did a great job. And all the coaches that were there from the beginning, from Coach T9, who was there, to Coach Cliff himself, and to Coach Liz Mills, I think the team, from management to players, grew and did a lot of great things. And I don't think anybody should be sad that we didn't go as far. It was just circumstances. This AfroBasket comes and it's COVID and it's travel becomes difficult for some players and things just happened. Yeah.
If you were to sit with current CS, Honorable Ababu Namwamba.
Yes.
And he would ask for advice on the best ways of growing basketball in Kenya, what would you advise him?
Well, a couple of things. First things first, in a lot of African countries, especially those without resources, the government supports clubs when they go play international events. This really helps because, one, you're representing a nation. I promise you, people don't know what KPA means or what Lindsay means. They say Kenya. Yeah. When you say Kenya didn't play the BAL, they don't really know. The rest are semantics. So I think the ministry take more pride in when teams are going outside, help those teams get into training camp, help those teams get the resources that they need. Because at the end of the day, they represent Kenya. They don't represent themselves when they leave. So that's very important. It happens in other countries. It can happen here. Kenya is richer than so many of these countries. 2, still through the ministry. The ministry should support the federation in hosting international events. The reason countries grow is because corporates have money, right? Even in Kenya, they have money. But corporates go where numbers are. Corporates don't create numbers. Corporates follow numbers. They bring themselves in a space where there's viewership. So if the government helps KBF and says, hey, you want to host a tournament, let us know what you need. KBF comes and says, we want to host Zone 5. This is what we need, 10 million, because you have to pay FIBA this, you have to do that. Government says, say less. Here it is. This will open the doors for the big corporates to see, oh, Kenyans like basketball. We organized the Africa Cities Challenge. You remember it?
Yeah.
In Nyayo Stadium?
Nyayo Stadium, yeah.
We went to one of the biggest corporates in Kenya before the tournament. So we're going to do a basketball tournament involving 6 countries in Nyayo Stadium from Tuesday. Finals will be on Saturday evening. Do you know what the corporate told us? People really like basketball in Kenya. People come to the stadium on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays. We don't think so. So no thank you. One of the biggest corporates. So fast forward on the Thursday semifinals. Thursday or Friday, we invited them.
Yeah.
I said, just come and see. I think Team Somalia was playing against somebody. If you were there, the gym was packed. We closed the gates and didn't allow the fans to come in anymore. There was no space inside. That same sponsor said, oh my goodness, if you're doing another edition of this, we're in. Just come to our offices immediately and let's talk. So that's what will happen. If we start hosting events, because Kenyans do have pride. When the Morans hosted the pre-qualifiers here, did you see what happened, Kenya, Sudan? We couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
We had to stand up for 2 hours. We almost were transported to Kasarani to play, but according to FIBA rules, if we did that, Kenya would have lost the game already automatically. It's automatic. You can't change the venue. On the DM day. You can't. If you change it, it's automatic, you've lost. Whether you win the game, you've lost. But that shows you there is the love. But we need to host more of these so that the corporate world can see. So that now when we go as a federation to ask for their support for the league, they will. And if you keep having international tournaments, even the local fans, because when you do international tournament, it's not your day-to-day fan that comes. It's the guy who says, I like basketball, but I'm bored with Kenyan League, who says, hey, Senegal is coming, Nigeria. And by coming in there, and the Kenyan teams perform well, he gets accustomed to some of these guys and says, Kumbe, we have players that I can come and watch. And then the more we organize, that's what Rwanda did.
Yeah.
I can recall the past 10 years, Rwanda hosted it was a time we we just have to go to Rwanda. Every zone 5, Rwanda. Then it became who? Uganda. Remember? Yeah. Uganda. Now who is it? TZ. TZ is organized everything. Who organized Road to Bal? Tanzania. Who organized Ladies Zone 5? Tanzania. Tanzania. It's just Tanzania. Until the league is becoming vibrant, that Kenyan players are leaving Kenya to play in Tanzania. Tanzania can't win a basketball game. But guess what? They just signed a sponsorship with a bank. Right? That is taking care of all of their programs. Youth. I spoke to the federation. I asked them what it's about. They say, yes, help us refurbish the stadiums, sponsor and kit all the teams in the league, do youth programs. Yes, because they've seen that the country is hosting international events. Yeah. So now they see that, oh, it's the only way it's exposure. I saw this happening with rugby in Kenya. What do you think made rugby become big? Do you know what it is?
Sevens.
Safari Sevens. It's the Kenya Safari Sevens event that made Kenya rugby become big. That is where the switch came and sponsorship came in. Because they hosted an event with international teams, had a concert with it. Concert is not rugby, so people come for the concert. That time was, is it Femi Kuti, the son of Fela Kuti? He's the one who came to Kenya. At the time when he had his song, Bang, 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 he came. Yeah. Everybody went to watch that. And by going there, they watched rugby. By going there, they loved the environment. And this is how a new dawn was born for rugby. And this is how, when that Sevens event kept going, people now who went to watch Safari Sevens grew the pride through the Shuja, and the Kenya team decided that they keep watching rugby because they got accustomed to the guys. Yeah. And they said, I'm going to game. I'll come and watch now. I think I like this sport. It was exciting to see how we won. If we host more events here and Kenyan teams are beating South Sudanese team and the rest, do you think that when we do our local league and we ask the sponsor to put money, he'll refuse? He won't refuse. Because, like I said, we're going to start bringing foreign talent. People in Uganda and Rwanda did not invest on just the Rwandese players. No, it's because those guys had foreign talents that we knew. If you bring a great player from a different country, a great player now, he comes in, plays for Thunder. He's just there, he's dunking like you've never seen. Guess what? We're going to watch that team. We're like, we have to go and watch Thunder. There's this Congolese guy, he wants to break the rims in Nyayo. We've never seen that. Yeah. When Faisal came to Kenya, see, we all went, all equity games. Yes. See, what to see equity? Yes. Now imagine having 8 Faisals in 8 different teams. So you're watching all those games. Yes. I know when I came, not to talk about, when I came to Kenya, USIU, you remember? Yeah. I was playing differently. People were like, I have to go and see USIU play. This boy is shooting all over the place. It's what happens. People need that. We don't have that. So I'll tell him Honorable. Organize international events. Finance, push, help. Using your signature, help encourage corporates to do it. By getting them the waivers that we talked about. The tax waivers that they get from financing this. Make it a reality that they can do this, okay? That'll be one of my biggest things. Infrastructural development. You have to deliberately bring back youth centers. Like I went to Nigeria, I was shown this hall, a social hall, whatever. It just looks dilapidated. No, bring them all back. We need all these social halls to be back. You see that whole ground in Nigeria that was built? Now look at that court. It's terrible. Why? Let's redo those. And there's so much space to do 2 more courts there. Do 2 more courts. Let's redo those. Sprite and West Union had done courts across the country. Honorable Minister, CS, let's do that. Let's go back and put back those courts. The youth love basketball. It is the second largest sport in the world, and even in Africa, the second fastest growing is basketball. It's the fastest growing sport. It's not football. Football is already standard. Football is where it is. It's like Coca-Cola. It's a cyclical project. It doesn't product. It doesn't need any effort for it to keep growing. It is there. Okay? Basketball, the youth loves basketball. The NBA has come to Africa. So it's growing. It's a big platform. And I would tell him, last but not least, he must remember this. The NBA loves Kenya because Kenya is a very important country when it comes to corporate world, when it comes to stability, when it comes to structure, like I keep telling you. So being in Kenya is a happy place for them. But for that, Kenya must show it. Let's build a facility. Rwanda cannot have a facility. Small Rwanda. Rwanda is a lovely country. I love what they're doing. But they're smaller than Kenya. Kenya is richer than Rwanda. So Kenya can afford. If Rwanda can fill up a 10,000-seater in Kigali, yet the population of the country is not half of Kenya's population. What about Nairobi? You mean we have 10,000 people who like basketball? So let's build the arena. Let's host NBA events. Let's host international events. It'll have a trickle effect where the government won't have to do much. Corporates are going to jump in on this wave and they're going to put in money everywhere. And the local stakeholders will have a position to now be able to request for resources to do their programs because they plug into the bigger picture that we're doing already across the country.
So what speaking of NBA in Africa, FIBA in Africa, what does BL have for Kenyan basketball?
Kenyan basketball, as in, I mean, the BL is here for Africa.
How can we tap into it? How can we adjust and readjust and
we need to qualify.
Go and compete?
It's 2 things. Like I said, the first one, what I said, I mean, Rwanda got into the BL by financing and sponsoring. So first things first is we can decide to sponsor. Rwanda, I think, their mandate to host the BAL should end next year, I think. It's the last one, and then he's going to move somewhere else. This is the time for the CS to sit down with the BAL and the NBA Africa and say, Kenya would like to be the next country to host the Final Four of the BAL. What does it take? And put that money there. Because if he does that and then tap into the corporate, because the government has powers and position to speak to the big corporates. Some of them are parastatals, right? Some of these telecommunication companies are parastatals. So they can sit with them and say, let's put some money. This is going to bring back. The amount of money that the BA has brought back to Rwanda is immense. Because the tourism, Kenya has more to offer in regards to tourism than Rwanda. So what would that do to us? Even if you do the thing in Nairobi, people will go to the Masai Mara. All of them will go to the Masai Mara and visit. It's a lot of money. All of them will go to Mombasa and visit, or to Malindi. It's huge. And the social landscape in Kenya is huger than in any of these countries, which means that more people can actually come in for the event because they got more things to do. So that would be his first level. For the BAL, is that partnership that would be the biggest thing that Kenya would do for themselves, right? Partner with the NBA, because the NBA is really willing. I know this because I know how the NBA is. They don't have to tell me this. I just know this. So he should reach out to them. And if he needs to, he can contact me. I can give him the direct links that he needs to. On a serious note.
Umesikia hiyo mambo.
Yes, on a direct note. Because that's the biggest way. At the club level, it's a bit harder because clubs are individuals. And so currently, KPA is trying to get themselves ready. I think they're on the right track to get themselves ready to qualify for the BAL. I mean, the first season, it was missed out of just a mistake. It was an internal mistake. The second year, again, I think some selfishness occurred within our own team that was qualified
Yeah.
Remember, it wasn't the same team that played the second round.
Yeah.
So I hope we've learned from those two mistakes then. Because, like I said, basketball-wise, we should be able to qualify. We should be able to qualify. It's tough. I mean, it's City Oilers, Urunani, De Beira from Mozambique, Cobra from South Sudan, Cape Town. And then we have the NBA Academy. Let me tell you for free. Those boys can play.
Yeah.
So these are 6 opponents I've just counted. 3 teams are qualifying. Okay? And I'm not neglecting the Madagascar team that beat us already. Okay? We don't know who they're going to recruit for the second round. So it's a very, very tall order. But it just goes to tell you how it works. But to get to the BL, what teams must get is you have to invest. The reason why it's harder now for our team is because a lot of the teams that they're playing against have already been to Road to BAL or have been to BAL. So they understand when you put money in qualifiers for the BL, the money the NBA gives you refunds all the money you invested and allows you to be structured enough to come back and compete because you have more money than the local teams all of a sudden.
Yeah.
People shouldn't mistake in countries like Angola, Egypt, Tunisia, those teams have millions of dollars already. I promise you. If you know the salaries of guys in Al Ahly or Zamalek or Petro, you'll just drop your cameras right now and be like, what? But they already have that money. So BL money to them is not really an addition. It just helps them do a couple of things. So that's why in those countries, the champion can change because they already have money. I have my money. Like Etihad, I think that one in Tunisia, who's beating Ubunasi or something like that. They have money. I think Al Ahly won there in Zamalek was eliminated. Remember the last time?
Yeah.
So it's because they have money. So I can get players to and beat you. But for our teams, like in Kenya, where teams don't have money, if you sacrifice today your money and say, I'm going to pay for the right foreign imports to help my team and go out there and qualify, all that money comes back. And now you're in a position where you have money to actually maintain some of those guys locally and say, let's keep beating these other guys. And all that's going to do is what? It's what happened in Rwanda, right?
Yeah.
See, Patriots won, they had the money.
Yes.
They qualified for the first time. They had the good money and they used it. What did Reg do? Use their own money and got better players and won. Yeah. And then went to the BL and now had real money. And now what? It's hard to beat me now because I got the money to stay here.
Yeah.
So it's what should happen. Even in Uganda, people talk about this because City Oilers has more money than the teams. So they can always do what they need to do to succeed.
It's like even rugby, KCB.
They have money.
They have money.
They have money. Yeah. So whatever you do, you guys bring your teams here, they're like, we'll show you something. Let's double this money. So that's it.